So this little bit here looks like a great place to start. Mainly clearing everything in between the larger trees. The larger trees will kind of act as the natural perimeter of the trail. So all this little underbrush, some of the stuff is too big for a rotary cutter, like a brush hog, like that right there, that's too big. A lot of this other stuff could be handled easily with the rotary cutter, but I don't think it's going to be too bad to just come in here and chop wood chip, chop wood chip. Sounds like a rhyme of some kind, but I don't think it's going to be too bad. Once I get into here going this way, yeah, there's plenty enough room for a trail here. So let's just start and keep going that way. New strategy, learning as I go. The problem I'm having is these falling in all kinds of different directions. So what I've realized is chainsaw is just a little too heavy for bending down constantly, when I can distribute the weight with this pole saw and I can start a lean away from me. So I've already chopped all these right at the ground, leaning that way. And if they're all leaning that way, they're going to keep pushing everything that I cut that way, kind of having a domino effect. So I think now the new strategy is to just lay low and cut them at the base one time with the pole saw and just keep letting everything domino away from me. And that way I can back in with the wood chipper and everything's still already leaning away from me. Just pick it up and chip, pick it up and chip. So that seems to be the winning strategy. But we're gonna come around this big tree here, make the turn, and then start heading that way. this trail is completely my creation. Well, me and my wife, right? It started as this. This was my starting point. Just like that. Just dense, small stuff. Dense, small stuff. And I found these two big trees as a starting point, and I said, well, that looks like a good place to punch in for a trail. So let's go. This is all the work so far. Now, this first little bit was chainsaw and wood chips, and I've already ground up some of the stumps. Little kind of a staging area over here. This is where I pushed in a little bit with the rotary cutter to kind of see how it would do with these saplings and these smaller trees. The problem with the rotary cutter is, I mean, yes, it's fast, and it'll take care of that, 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 but sprinkled in all of this stuff is that, and that's too big for the rotary cutter. So what you end up with is like a lot of spaces between this tree and this tree that can't really get in there with the rotary cutter. So you are being, you know, time effective with these smaller things, but the amount of zigzagging and dodging that you have to do it's a little crazy. So the rotary cutter is useful in some scenarios, not for just creating from scratch, I have found. So this is created from scratch. Again, it was all this dense type stuff. And here it comes up with the bulldozer, so I'm gonna walk this way, right? Walking a little bit further down, you can kind of see the idea of this trail. The trail was created to stay in between these larger trees. The trees are gonna form the trail, so wherever that takes us, well, that's the trail, as long as I point that direction and keep going. All right, so once we get back here, this is about where I stopped using just the chainsaw. No, not quite. Let's keep going. I think it's a little bit further up here. This is how we're storing all of our stuff here, by the way, because, you know, we're still not on the property yet. So take the keys out, chain it up to a tree, or lock it up to a tree, and doing this, breaking down, setting up, breaking down, setting up, breaking down, setting up, loading up the tractor, bringing it over here, unloading the tractor, loading up the tractor, taking it back home. That's taken up so much of our time. Not so much, but it's taken up a considerable amount of time. So once we get out here forever, man, we're just gonna have even more time to work. So all of this was completely grown up as well. And I've got it cleared out a little bit. Let me get you a wider angle a little bit. And you can kind of see what we're going for here. I'm starting to expand and open up this trail to get line of sight. Now on this side, this is the border of the property, so I want to have as much vegetation as possible, just as a natural fence. On this side, I want line of sight. I want all this undergrowth that's just not doing anything, harboring poison ivy, and I want it gone. I want this small stuff gone. I want to be underneath these bigger trees with plenty of visibility. So what I'm looking for is like a park type setting out here. We cleared all of this. And being able to walk back here and see all this is just, it's nice. Makes you feel good. Still have a lot of work to do, obviously. But this is a nice little trail. So the trail's still over here. And this is all just open space over here. And you can see the trail where the trail goes. Right about that pile is where I stopped using the chainsaw as the primary means of clearing. And you can see, I don't know how well you can see this, but how tore up the ground is over there. That's because I started using the tractor and a Piranha bar on the front bucket of my tractor to just uproot the whole tree. And it's kind of a catch-22, or, you know, give and takes. There's pros and cons to every method. The chainsaw leaves the cleanest appearance for the trail, because at that point all you have to do is come back and grind out a little bit of stump. Well, if you're chainsawing, you know, all of that down, and then you have what is that? That's at least 3 bajillion of these sapling stumps. They're just annoying. I mean, trying to get the stump grinder to get rid of these little things before they puncture a tire. It's either you have to cut them super shallow, super low to the ground, so that it doesn't stick up enough to puncture a tire, or you leave them high and then grind them down. So either you're dulling the chainsaw blade hitting dirt, or you're grinding with a stump grinder it's like you're grinding straws, itty bitty little things. So that's kind of annoying. So yeah, the chainsaw and stump grinder method, I think that honestly leaves the best trail surface, but it's nowhere near time efficient. Now over here, the Piranha bar on the bucket is so fast. You knock the tree down, exposing some of the roots at the bottom, and then you spear those roots, lift up a little bit and drive forward, and it just uproots the whole tree. And it works really, really fast, but it completely tears up the ground. So once this all dries up, during the drought, I'll have to come back here. We always have a drought in the middle of the summer. We always have about 2 months where it's just bone dry and everything turns into dust. Everything's coated in a fine layer of dust. So about around that time, I'll have to come through here and flatten all this out with a box blade. And you know, it's an extra step, but I'm gonna tell you, driving a tractor is way easier than busting your butt with a chainsaw. Both can be done, but you know, you get the point. So what the Piranha bar does is this right here. Let me zoom in. How do I zoom in? Come on, camera, where'd my controls go? There you go. So there's the root ball. I knocked the tree over. Let's back out a little bit. I knock the tree over, exposing the root ball, and then I spear it with the bucket and then just drive forward. And then my phone's acting crazy. And then the whole root's out of the ground. I don't have to worry about coming back with a stump grinder. You cut the root ball off and you wood chip the rest of it, grab the root ball and burn it. That's the plan anyway. We were burning quite a bit, but I watched what is it? I think it's Back to Eden or something like that. It's a sustainable permaculture type of a video, and I witnessed the power of wood chips in that video. So yeah, we do have some burn piles here and there, and we have been burning some stuff, but I'm gonna try my best to stack these in such a way that it's easy to wood chip down the road rather than burn. And at that point, we'll have a lot of, well, this right here, we'll have a lot of this good natural resource for the trail. When I started wood chipping the driveway, put out a couple videos, a few people suggested, hey, you should put those right back in the trail. And my ignorance on the topic said, no, I don't want to do that because I don't want this to turn into mud and it's not good for the trail. Completely wrong. That movie completely changed my perspective on wood chips on the ground. So that's going to be a tremendous resource for us. But the trail keeps going and going and going. And we are about halfway through this side of the property as far as this perimeter trail. So we've got a tremendous amount of work, but this is one of those trails that we're just gonna work on it at our convenience. Whenever it feels good to work on this, we will work on it. But when priorities pull us elsewhere, well, we're gonna go elsewhere. So I don't know how well it's showing up. Let's go wide. The trail comes down here, and bulldozer is getting louder behind me, so sorry about that. The trail goes down here. Now, I say down because, let's see, right about here is horizontal, maybe-ish. This is a little bit higher than where I'm standing, and this is lower than where I'm standing. So that's probably a 6-foot elevation change right there. So the trail goes off this way, kind of snakes around, and then we get out of the big pines and into the hardwoods. So this is the end of the pines on this side of the property. I think, from where I've hiked this way anyway. A few more pines this way, but there's a huge section of where the hardwoods start to come into the trail this way. So we're gonna get another visual mix here of the pine ecosystem and the hardwood ecosystem, because they look totally different. It's so fun to see that contrast. But anyway, up here is this pretty nice open clearing, and it is open, but look at this, it's all shaded still. So this is a small cabin home site, right? Not a huge house, not a huge cabin, but a small little cabin could fit right here. And I'm just saying that for the size of it, and not because I have plans to do that. But what we're realizing is throughout the property, we're finding these little areas that are just perfect, and they're secluded enough so that they could be used as primitive camping sites. So whether that means, you know, when my family comes down and I've got 25 family members on the property and they all have their own little private oasis or whatever. I think that's going to be pretty cool, pretty fun. And then of course it clears off back that way as well. Oh, I'm getting eaten up by mosquitoes. I haven't sprayed yet. Sprayed myself yet. So yeah, all of what you see here used to look like that. Used to look really low and grown. It's been a lot of work. I'll talk about this at a later date. I want to make a dedicated video on the topic, but you know, I mentioned it several times that yeah, an excavator, yes, a skid steer with a forestry mulcher, yeah, that's all going to speed up the process. But I'm not doing that for a few reasons, primarily because of budget reasons, but also because I enjoy this. This is what I like to do. This is so much fun to me right now. I'm really enjoying transforming this property into something that is better for our family long term, something that quite frankly I think is actually better for the land. I didn't mention this since I've been out here, but there are vines killing all of these trees. Insane amount of vines, like this right here. This is just dangling down because I cut it. That's a huge vine. Then you got these big old fuzzy vines, which is poison ivy, and that's just a small one. We pulled out massive vines from these trees, and you get to a point where it's just like the vines are going to take over the tree for sure. Like this is a whole jumble of vines right here. Now these vines, these bigger ones right here, I can't get my hand all the way around them, so they're huge in diameter, these bigger ones. And you see this right here? This is a big branch, a monster branch. That's 6 to 8 inches in diameter right there. It came off of that, so it broke off, but it was just suspended in the vines for who knows how long. When I started clearing this, it was just hanging out right there, just floating in space because these vines had it suspended, and they were all wrapped around this tree. Well, that tree and that tree are quite a ways apart, right? Well, these vines are rooted here. Then they go up into the canopy, and they're still in that one. They're still way up there. So, yeah, we've got a vine management scenario. These vines are insane. Which, you know, no real big surprise. This isn't the first time I've been in the woods. It's just when you have the property, I want to save all these bigger trees for the most part. You know, we're going to start harvesting some of these on the other side of the property. These are not naturally grown trees. These are all planted for a resource. So we're going to use that resource, not all of it. We're going to get to a point where eventually we're done cutting what we want to cut to shape the land. And at that point, I don't think we'll ever cut anything that's good, healthy, and alive. We'll be just cutting down, wind down trees and, you know, trees that have rot and trees that are obviously dying, like this hardwood right here. That tree is obviously dying. And that trunk looks like it's got some usable material. So, you know, at that point, we'll start switching over to something like that where we're harvesting those types of trees. There was a poison ivy vine over here that I wanted to show you. This tree right here, this is a monster, and it was covered in vines. Vines were just all over the place. So I cut them, and now it's just hanging on. Another thing that's interesting about these vines is there's straws. You cut them at the base and then come back the next day, and there's this jelly looking blob hanging down. The sap is coming out of the vines, and it looks a little comical. There's one over here that I wanted to show you that I do need to get out of this tree. Here's a vine I got to get out of this tree. Poison ivy. That's got to come down, or it's going to take the tree down eventually. I think it was near the front of the trail. The super huge fuzzy poison ivy vine that I just noticed on my way into this trail today. This tree, nope, not that one. There's a small one that needs to come down. There's a small one that needs to come down. And yeah, on this side, mosquitoes are brutal. Maybe it's on one of these. Is it on that one? Nope, not on that one. There's so many big, beautiful trees in this property that's just... Oh, I passed it up. There it is. So look at the size of this vine. Holy moly. That's a big one. That's a big vine. So yeah, got to get that taken down. But I just love this trail. This is nowhere near complete. This one will go down to the other end of the short end of the property, and then go all the way the long length of the property, long side. All right, just wanted to show you this trail. It's one of my fun places to be on the property right now. Got a few things that I want to accomplish before I leave, so we'll get off here. You guys take care, have a great day, and I'll talk to you in the next video.